What's up, guys? Deus Ex Machina, DM Sports. I'm back, bitches. Did not make a video after the BYU loss because I just didn't really have anything to say. There's just really nothing to say. I can't keep coming on here every week and just going, yeah, we suck. It's not fun for me. I didn't really have any original thoughts or anything. So I didn't make a video, and then last week I was on vacation, actually out of town, on vacation. So no video last week. But good to see nothing's changed in the last 2 weeks. We still suck. We're still getting our butts kicked. This UCF loss really hurt, I think, because I really thought that UCF was our last winnable game. They, on paper, are probably the easiest team that we have left, unless another team really collapses. And a lot of people were saying they're West Virginia's twin because they are going through a coaching change. They brought back their old coach, just like we did with Rich Rod. They brought back Scott Frost. We had, I think we brought in something like 50, 60 transfers. They brought in 40 or 50. They brought in 10 less transfers than us or something like that. And I know they're a bigger school. They have a bigger student body, which means a bigger alumni base, but I don't think that they have a whole lot more money to spend than us. So it's really disheartening to see how much further along they are in year one than WVU is. So I don't know. There's just not a whole lot to say about that. It really just was not a good week to be a Mountaineer fan, period. Our soccer team, who was number 3 in the country, went on the road and lost to a team that was RPI 100 and something. So that, they're obviously going to fall in the rankings. And, the basketball team did pretty good, supposedly, in a closed door scrimmage against Maryland. Nobody was there except for, nobody saw it. So we're just kind of taking the word of people who were there that we did really well. I never thought West Virginia would be a basketball school, but, I'm sitting here going, is it basketball season yet? I think it starts up. I think our first game is in a couple weeks here, about a week and a half from right now. So I'm kind of excited about that. I actually might do a video kind of along those lines, doing a basketball versus football comparison. I'm kind of excited to get your guys' thoughts on that. So, but we're going to stick with football for this week. And I made this slideshow here about what is wrong with West Virginia. These were things that most of these ideas weren't original ideas coming from my head. Most of them, everybody knows a lot of these issues. And excuse me, and everybody, these are just things I found on the board. Whenever I say, can it be fixed? I'm meaning can it be fixed this season? Can it be fixed before, since we're still technically, not eliminated from bowl eligibility? We got to win 2 games before we lose 4. And like I said, I personally don't think we're going to win another game all year. I think we're going to finish 2-10, with our only wins being against an FCS opponent and Pitt, which at the beginning of the year, I always say, every year that we play Pitt, I always say there's only one game that matters as long as we win that game. And this year might actually be the year that my half-joking prediction came true. But what is wrong with West Virginia? Let's start with the obvious: quarterback play. It has not been good. Richard at the beginning of the year said, we have 5 quarterbacks that we can play and win with. Well, unless he's got 5 more quarterbacks that he hasn't told us about, I haven't seen anything that said that any of these 5 quarterbacks can play and win. I thought Marchiol coming into the season, I was really excited about Marchiol. I don't know if that foot injury that, I don't want to say that nobody's hurt, but I don't know. That kind of came up out of nowhere. All of a sudden he's got this foot injury. Maybe he does have a foot injury. Maybe that's why he, was trying to play through it. And maybe that's why he wasn't doing very well. I just don't think he's a good fit in the offensive scheme, though. Henderson didn't do hardly anything. Max Brown's played 2 drives all season. Now we're down to Scotty Fox and Khalil Wilkins. Wilkins is now injured. Fox, we're starting, Scotty Fox, a true freshman. And we've got Max Brown supposed to be his backup this week. And we're bringing people from the practice squad that I've never even heard of. So we're down to QB6 and QB7 on the depth chart as emergency backups. So can quarterback play be fixed this year? No, it cannot. I don't mind. I don't mind getting these younger guys some reps, because even Richard said in his radio show last night, I think it was last night, whenever it was I was listening to it, that quarterbacks take the biggest jump year 1 to year 2 in his system, because then they start to learn the reads and learn what they're looking for. So I am kind of, excited to see what some of these young quarterbacks can do next year, but I don't think there's anything they can do this year. And a big reason of that is number 2, O-line. I don't think it matters who you put back there at quarterback behind that offensive line. That offensive line is terrible. We've got a couple young guys, but most of them are transfers and people that we brought in, and they're just not playing well. Can it be fixed this year? I'm saying no, because it should not take 8 games for an offensive line to gel together. 1 or 2 games, yeah, sure. 8 games, we're 7 games in. This will be our 8th game. No, if it was going to get better, it would have gotten better at this point. Again, unless he's got a whole bunch of people back there that they're not playing for some reason, but it seems like he has said time and time again that the best 5 players are out there. The best 5 O-linemen are starting. So I just don't think it's going to get any better this year. The defense, what is wrong with the defense? Like, the first 3 games of the season, our defense looked so good. They were the only reason we were winning games and staying in those games. And now they've given up 38 plus points every game since, something like that. I also heard a stat, and I didn't fact check it, but it came from a reliable source, that we sacked Eli Holstein from Pitt something like 6 times, and we haven't had a sack since then. That's almost an unfathomable stat, that we haven't had a single sack in 5 games now, because Pitt was our 2nd game of the season, right? No, 3rd game of the season. 4 games, something like that. 4 games that we haven't had a sack. That blows my mind. Can the defense be fixed? I'm going to go yes, because I don't really know what's changed. I don't know why they suddenly suck. Like, just go back to what we were doing. Like, okay, so, now Fred Perry's, on the injury list for this week. He's questionable. But I don't know I don't know what's changed. If the defense starts playing like they did those first 3 weeks, then yes, we'd be in a much better position. So I'm going to say yes, it can be fixed, because I don't know why it can't be. It's not like it's racked with injuries or anything like that. So hopefully it can get fixed. But speaking of injuries, that is one of the main things that I keep hearing that, is wrong with West Virginia, is we have a lot of people injured. That is very true. We've lost quite a number of players for the season. They just announced Ty Edwards done for the year. Obviously Markiel done for the year. Henderson's been hurt. Brown's been hurt. Wilkins is now hurt. Jaheim White, our star player, coming into the season, gets injured 2nd game in, done for a year. Jalen Bray. I almost forgot about Bray. Somebody said something about we lost wide receiver 1. And I was like, who was wide receiver 1? I was like, oh, that's right. Like, we did lose Bray. Like, Bray was supposed to be our top wide receiver this year. So we have just been decimated with injuries. Can it get better? Can it be fixed? Maybe. A lot of these guys, we've got some of these guys, listed as questionable. I don't like whenever they're questionable week after week after week. That just seems like they're, kind of dragging their feet to come back because they see how bad the team is. But, if all these guys come back, then maybe it'll get better. I don't know. We'll just have to see, I guess. Next point, money. I hear a lot of people saying, well, we need more money. Rich Rodriguez on his show, I heard that he said something about he would like to be $10 million over revenue sharing next year. And even then, that doesn't even come close to like schools like Texas Tech or dropping like 40 million over or whatever. But they want more money. Can that be fixed this year? No, obviously it can't be fixed for this year. But next year we have that 3 to 5 million that they didn't spend this year. And I honestly don't know why everyone was so upset about that. I heard, a lot of people were pissed and bitching about that. Oh, why didn't they spend this money? I don't know that $3 to $5 million would have made that big of a difference this year. So we go from being 2-10 to 4-8. Who are you going out there and getting? And even like a lot of the guys that left, they got big money deals. That Josiah Trotter, I think was his name, the linebacker, the son of Jeremiah Trotter from the Eagles. He supposedly he's making like 750,000 at Missouri. Is West Virginia going to pay him that kind of money? Are we paying that kind of money for a linebacker? So I actually kind of like the fact that they probably just saw the writing on the wall that this year is going to be a wash. You know, the year zero mulligan or whatever they're calling it. And, save that money for next year. Let's go ahead and put it through. I'm not like a finance, major or anything, or an accountant. So I don't exactly know how it all works, but I heard somebody saying something about they could be trying to game the system where they essentially spend it next year, but as long as it's like in the same fiscal year, it'll still look like they spent it all this year or something, which I'm all for. If they're doing something like that, to where they can spend extra money next year, or towards next year's roster, but it still would like go on like this year's like finances or whatever. I think that's actually a pretty good idea. So I like the idea of stacking money for next year. I don't know that we're going to have, $10 million above revenue sharing or whatever that they're, he's asking for. And I really hope that we're not in the same position for next year where, because we're losing something like 41 players, just the graduation. We have like 41 seniors. So, I mean, that's assuming they don't sue the NCAA for, sixth, seventh, eighth year of eligibility, whatever they're up to at this point. But if we got to replace that many guys again next year, $3 to $5 million is not going to go that far. Go look at, I think it's on Fox Sports. They have a list of the top 25 NIL deals out there. I mean, like first place is like Arch Manning, or like 6.8 or something like that. But almost any half decent quarterback is like $2 million alone. And I'm not even talking about like Carson Beck at Miami or, like some big SEC quarterback. I'm talking like the quarterback for Duke. I don't even know his name, but he was on that list. The quarterback for the Duke Blue Devils was making $2 million a year. So $3 to $5 million, that's like a couple good players. It's one really good player or like two decent players, essentially. So it's not going to go far. They still have to be very wise about how they spend their money. They have to be a lot better talent evaluation. They do better talent evaluation than they did this year. That's for sure. And even Rodriguez mentioned talent evaluation in his show last night. But that brings us to coaches. So I heard an interesting theory because right now we have 29 coaches and analysts. And I heard an interesting theory that maybe it's just too many. Maybe there's too many chefs in the kitchen or whatever the saying is. And I kind of agree with that. 29 coaches and analysts. We've never had that many before. Well, there used to be limits on how many coaches you can have. But does every single position in the secondary need its own coach? Do we really need a Mike linebacker coach and a spur linebacker coach and a safeties coach and a defensive back coach? It's like, can we just streamline this a little bit? Can this be fixed during the season? We'll just answer that right now. No, not during the season, obviously. But I do think that we have too many coaches. Because now not only do you have to get all your players on the same page, you have to get all your coaches on the same page. Because if this coach is saying, well, if A, B, and C happens, you do D, and this coach over here saying, well, if A, B, and C happens, you do F, then these two guys are way off. I am a big... I really like the idea of getting rid of a few of these coaches. Supposedly all of them, except for Rich Rodriguez, obviously, and Zach Alley, are on one-year deals. So, again, nothing's going to happen during the season, but at the end of the year, just don't bring back a bunch of these guys. Let's get rid of, 5, 6 coaches. Let's pool the salary that we are paying those 5 or 6 coaches and maybe just go get like one really good coach. There's already been a lot of head coaches fired, so a lot of those head coaches are probably going to be, first of all, looking for a place to rebound. Maybe we can get some of them cheap because look what Neil Brown did. He went and became an analyst for Texas, making $40,000 a year. So probably less money than most people watching this show. It's a lot less money than I make, and I'm a mechanic. And he's a freaking analyst for the Texas Longhorns, making $40,000 a year. I couldn't live off $40,000 a year, but he took a minimum wage job essentially to be an analyst because he knows he's getting $3 million a year from West Virginia. So some of these head coaches might just be looking for a place to rebound. They're already getting multi-million-dollar payouts, buyouts from their contract. We might be able to pick them up for like $100,000 or something really stupid. But on top of that, whenever a coach gets fired, almost all of their assistants are right behind them at the end of the year because the new head coach is going to come in. They're going to want their guys. So let's go and maybe, poach a couple of these guys. That would be my thought on it. That's my recommendation. Get rid of some of these coaches. Just get one or two really good coaches. Last but not least, coaching in general. And when I say coaching, I'm talking more like head coach, play calling, that kind of stuff. The play calling has been atrocious, in my opinion. I mean, I don't remember Richard. I remember Rich Rod's offenses being run heavy, obviously the Pat White days and stuff, but we had not done. I always thought that when Rich Rod got hired, I was like, at least the offense will be fun to watch, even if we're not winning games. But this offense has not been fun to watch. It has been terrible. We're trying to run, 30 quarterback runs a game, and all that's doing is getting our quarterbacks hurt. We can't throw the ball for nothing. We just had a historically bad passing outage against UCF. 28 passing attempts for 79 yards and 0 touchdowns. We have never done that before. We've had that few passing yards before. We've had that few passing yards under Rich Rod before, back when Pat White and Steve Slayton were running the ball 60 times a game, but they're running the ball for 400 yards a game. We're not doing that either. We're just bad all around. Can that be fixed this season? I'm going to say yes, and I'm going to use one of Rich Rod's sayings, or whatever you want to call it, where he says it's not what you can call, it's what you can execute. And I just don't think we have the players to execute much of anything right now. So could it get better? Yeah, I mean, I guess we could start calling some more, exciting plays, but if we can't execute them, I don't know if it's going to matter. So I would like to think that maybe we start to see a little bit more experimenting with, play calls and just trying something different, because what we're doing right now isn't working. But that's my breakdown of what I think is wrong with West Virginia and what I've seen other people saying is wrong with West Virginia, and my thoughts on whether they can be fixed this year or not. But anyway, let me know what you guys think in the comments. Otherwise, I'll catch you guys in the next video. Well, let's go Mountaineers.